Hi guys, we're going to do the recap for Tuesday and a little bit from Monday, but mainly Tuesday, and we're just going to start off with the brother Shawn. He's the one that took the stand on Tuesday. Shawn Frazee, Patrick's younger brother. He testifies, and Shawn is a police officer in Colorado Springs, and he told prosecutors that he hadn't been close to Patrick for the 2 to 3 years. So he's on the stand and he is given his evidence, and he is a prosecutor's witness. He is not a defense witness. Shawn Frazee spoke quietly. He didn't appear to make any eye contact with his brother from the witness stand. Shawn Frazee said he saw his brother on Thanksgiving Day. He was also with his brother the day Patrick Frazee gave his phone to the police during the investigation in the Kelsey Berreth's disappearance. As Shawn Frazee was on the stand, he looks like his brother. Yeah, it looks like his brother. They said more or less that's his double. So just imagine what he looks like. Just look at Patrick Frazee. Like I said, he said, we're not on bad terms. We just haven't been close. You know, they haven't really spoke for a long time, and suddenly he gets a phone call or a text to say that Kelsey's pregnant. But this was months into the pregnancy, I think. But I'm not sure if he ever see Kaylee in person. I don't know. So, as you know, on Tuesday, 11 witnesses were called. And, you know, the jury went home early because they didn't have no more witnesses. They had gone through them that fast. But fast forward to that, Frazee's brother was saying, you know, what he knows about that day when him and his wife and his children were at the ranch, you know, Sheila's, you know, their mother's home, and were having Thanksgiving. He says he arrives around 2:30-ish to the ranch, and Patrick wasn't there, and they continued to eat their Thanksgiving, and Patrick didn't show up, but he showed up at 5 p.m. that day. But before that, he had called his mother to say that he was on his way because he had been feeding the animals, the cattle. Yeah, something like that. That's what he said he was doing. He didn't say, hey, I've been at Kelsey's home, and you know, I'm with my daughter and we are on our way back. Okay, so save me some dinner or something like that, you know. So that's what his brother said. He also says he when his brother said to him that Kelsey is missing, he didn't really know what to think, because he said he doesn't really know Kelsey. So that just tells you the family's not close, and they only live not far from each other, and that he didn't know the baby neither. So he doesn't talk to his brother, so he's not going to tell him anything, I guess. But that's what he says. So I guess you have to believe what he's saying. But maybe he didn't have to say too much on the stand. He only answers to the questions. No more, no less. He knows the drill. But when the detectives came to talk to Patrick, to search the land, or to issue warrants, or they were getting warrants and they were going to question him, they came, the FBI, the whole military came onto the ranch and charged and caught them. And Patrick was leaving. I mean, they didn't have to go far. They were leaving. And they quickly handcuffed Patrick and also handcuffed his mother at the same time. And that was for everybody's protection, because, they always do that. And at one time, when they came, they wanted to get Patrick's phone. And his brother said, Shawn said, "Do you have a warrant?" And they says, "Yes, we are getting one right now, as we speak. It's on its way." So Shawn said to his brother, "Hand over your phone." Because, his brother's thinking, yeah, hand over your phone. What you got to hide? You're innocent. You know what I mean? You're innocent. She's gone missing. You don't know where she is. Because I guess he's not thinking, hell no, you didn't. You didn't, did you? You didn't. He's not thinking that way. Well, at least I don't think so. But he gave his brother some advice and said, hand over your phone. But, but by this time, Patrick's been trying to get rid of evidence, and he's already been to the Verizon store. And as we know, he's already been there. He's done a lot of things before this happened. So, his brother's not thinking that way. Hand over. You got nothing to hide. So that's how that went. And he handed over his phone. And they said, "Thank you very much." Well, I expect they don't say thank you, but, they took the phone. Quick as that. Before he changes his mind. And anyway, and another thing he was asked was, what time he got there, what did he look like, more or less, how was he dressed, was he, I don't know, full of blood, what was he wearing, what boots was he wearing, what shoes was he wearing, because they got the surveillance, and the surveillance from different stores in the Walmart and everything else. They already know what he's wearing, right? They want to know, did he come home in the same clothes? Or did he change them? Now, I don't know if he must have changed them. I don't know. Unless, when you beat somebody to death and there's blood splatter everywhere, blood everywhere. So they said, KK said that's how it was. And he would have been covered in blood. But it doesn't seem that way. But that doesn't mean he wasn't covered in blood. Because apparently he spent a long time, a few hours in the home. Now, he could have washed his clothes and dried them. He could have gave them a quick wash, 20-minute wash, and dried them. And put them back on. And took a bath, took a shower, whatever, And because it seems like he didn't clean up nothing. He was just cleaning up himself and taking care of the baby. So that could have happened. But, being a police officer, you'd think he might recognize signs. But at the time, he wasn't looking for that. It was his brother. They were having Thanksgiving. He said he'd been out feeding the animals and all that and the other. Well, he said to him where he'd been. And he'd gone over to pick his baby up. And so probably he didn't pay too much attention. But then he was asked, what was he doing? What was his demeanor? He says, well, he got back and he started making dinner for himself and the baby. And I guess they ate and had a little chit chat. And then he said the rest of the time he was in and out. And I left at 7:30 p.m. that night. And he said he was in and out because they wanted to say, who was he calling? Did you hear him talking to anybody or something like that? That's what they were getting at. And he said, he was in and out, and he said he had to go feed the animals. Yeah, he had to go feed the animals, all right. I don't know what he was doing, but I bet you he was getting rid of the body. Because what was he going to do? By this time, I assume, because I don't think there's any other surveillance of him coming back the next day to get the body, but he was probably hiding. He's not going to leave Kelsey's body in the back of his trunk, is he? It will attract animals. But he was hiding that, and I bet you he hid it in the where they store the hay. That big den or something, where you keep tractors and stuff, in the shed, the giant shed. Yeah. And you needed some kind of lift to put it on the shelf. He was hiding that. And that's where I think he hid her until KK came and whatever they did. But there's another thing that KK said at one time, unless I'm getting mixed up. Now, she said she came to clean up the home, and then they went to Frazee's ranch and burnt the body. But she said, I think he went in and got something out of, like that big shed, the farm shed, and he got it out and put it on the fire. I think that's what happened. I think he was hiding the body, because I don't think he would have left it in his truck, at the back of his truck. So he put her somewhere and hid her away from the animals. That's what I'm thinking. So Shawn didn't say he went outside and chatted to his brother while he worked. He didn't say he went out to help him and have a little brotherly chat or get to know each other again. You know what I mean? So that's what he said. So he said he was in the house playing with Kaylee and everything. The kids were playing and they were enjoying family time, more or less. So that's what he said. And, they said he spoke quietly and did not make eye contact with his brother. So that's more or less what he said. Shawn Frazee was not asked by either prosecutors or his brother's public defenders whether his brother acted differently during Thanksgiving. So he wasn't really asked that question. So you know what I mean? They say only answer to what I ask you. Don't give no more, because once you give more, and then it gives the other side more chance to question you on that. So it didn't come out. So they just said they had dinner at the mother's, and he didn't offer any analysis to that. So he didn't give no more to what he was asked for. And like I said, he got there at 2:30 p.m. Patrick got there at 5. He also said Patrick previously had told his brother that he and Kelsey had separated on December the 3rd. No. Take that back. He said they had separated, but on December the 3rd, Patrick Frazee told his brother that Berreth's mother had reported her missing. He explained to me that her grandmother was sick and that she may have been visiting her sick grandmother. And this is where I think her mother lives. Her grandmother lives in Idaho. Because he was trying to put Kelsey in Idaho. Yeah, he was trying to put her there. Because he knows KK lives there. So he's trying to put the body already in Idaho. See? His master plan. Shawn Frazee was concerned, he said, but didn't know what to think. He didn't know what to think because he doesn't know Kelsey. So he didn't know what to think. But what was there to think about? If she went to visit her sick grandmother, you would think, oh, she had to go visit her sick grandmother. There wasn't nothing to think about, was there? You know, because that's what he said. So you say, oh, you know, oh. So his excuse, I didn't know what to think. Well, he had to say that because he knows what's going on now. But back then, you know. But the grandmother, apparently, you can't really talk to her on the phone because she don't remember a thing. So if you called up your grandmother and said, hey, Grandma, I'm coming to visit you tomorrow or today or later today. You know, it takes 8 or so hours to get there. But I'll be coming to visit you tomorrow. I'll see you then. And her grandmother's going to go like, yeah, okay. But as soon as the grandmother has dementia. She got dementia. So Kelsey would know that she wouldn't call her grandmother up and talk to her. She'd be talking to somebody that's taking care of her. Ugh. Yeah, well, that's what I would think anyway, so I just thought I'd put that one out there. And then, of course, it goes on to the surveillance cameras. So Shawn Frazee was not on the stand very long. It was quick and sweet. Nobody cross-examined. They didn't. So there wasn't really much else to say. He didn't have a lot to offer. Prosecutors began to show evidence of Frazee's financial situation for the courts. Dan May said was going to become an issue in this case. Frazee was late on his payments towards a $72,000 loan and had been paying Kelsey Berreth $700 a month in child support, guys. Yeah, he was already paying child support. Okay. $700 for one child. Sounds a lot, but depends how much he earns. Between October 2017 and July of 2018, Colorado Bureau of Investigations Agent Greg Slater said during testimony, Frazee's brother also said there had been conflict in the Frazee family over the $400,000 estate left behind by the brother's father, who died in 2018. Investigators also found custody paperwork about Kelsey Berreth's daughter, and Frazee in the Frazee's home. The neighbor's surveillance camera captured photos that show Patrick Frazee at the door of Berreth's condo 11 different times on Thanksgiving Day. 11 different times. But remember, guys, he said he went there and picked up Kaylee and left. But, you know, he did pick her up. But when he picked her up, I don't know when the exchange happened, but not long after Kelsey had left Safeway and was seen on surveillance going past a furniture store on her way home, and then the neighbor's surveillance camera, Patrick had got his daughter in the truck. So that happened pretty fast. And then, you know, Patrick was seen at Walmart. So 11 different times the neighbor's camera images of Patrick. But remember, guys, Patrick said between this time and this time he was feeding his cattle. He was feeding the cows, or whatever he was feeding. But he couldn't have been in 2 or 3 or 4 places at the same time. So, and the grouping of these photos were taken between 11 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. And another series of photos showed Frazee back at the condo around 4 p.m. So when did he have time to go feed the cattle? You know. Well, it goes on. And a photo from 1:23 p.m. that day showed Frazee and Berreth and Kaylee gathered in the door. The last known image of Kelsey. So, I think we have the timeline here, guys. I think this is when it happened. 1:23 p.m. Yeah. I think that's around the time that he may have went in for the attack. Let's see. We'll carry on here. Frazee's public defender, Adam, attempted to discredit the accuracy of the timeline created by the neighbor's cameras by drawing comparisons between two still images reported to be taken seconds apart but show completely different shadows. Yeah, here we go with the shadows. But let me note one thing that I've heard is that the clothes that he was wearing that day and the clothes in the shadows, the figures, were the same clothes. Yes, because of the clothes and the shoes and stuff like that. So, and then he also said this is not how the sun moves across the sky. The expert who compiled the images, Chad Mininger, said the method he used to find the time-stamped the images meant things could be slightly out of order but would be accurate within a few hours. Also pointed out that none of the photos show Frazee carrying a large black box, now which the prosecutors allege Frazee used to carry Berreth's body out of her home. Now, in between all this, there were surveillance cameras all around the neighborhood. And one mistake Frazee's made, he's made so many trips around that neighborhood that day that different cameras are catching different parts of the vehicle. And the black box or, totes that he had in the back of his truck were, as far as I understand, they were one way, and then in another camera they were moved and facing a different way. It's something like that. So this is showing that they were moved or something. I'm just reading between the lines here. Then we go on to the footage from the ATM that Frazee visited just after noon on Thanksgiving Day. So just after noon on Thanksgiving Day, this is when he had gone to the drive-thru. And on this surveillance also showed a black box in the back of his red truck. An investigator from the 4th District Attorney's Office testified. The investigator, Stephanie Courtney, also said that a surveillance camera at a local furniture store showed the box in the truck bed. The various images also showed that the box moved or was repositioned in the truck bed. See? What did I tell you? Yeah. Between 1:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. But nothing was ever filed in court. Now we'll go into the timeline a little bit here, and this according to Courtney, the investigator, at 12, because she was hired to look into the timelines on the videos and surveillance and all that and the other. So at 12:02 p.m., She said it showed Kelsey walking into the Safeway with her young daughter in a baby carrier, which we've all seen that little video of her walking into Safeway. In another piece of the surveillance video, Kelsey is seen lingering at the grocery store's bread aisle. Just hours before, she had called her mother and asked for a bread dip recipe. So, according to Courtney, Kelsey left the Safeway at 12:27 p.m. In addition to the bread dip recipes, she also purchased poinsettias. At around noon, surveillance video outside a furniture store along US 24 in Woodland Park shows Kelsey's red Silverado truck headed back towards her home. 8 minutes later, Courtney said Frazee's red Toyota is visible going the opposite direction with a black tote in the bed. Footage from the camera attached to the ATM at the ENT Credit Union shows Frazee pulling up at 12:42 p.m. According to Courtney, he spent 8 minutes at the ATM. At 12:46 p.m., it snapped a photo of him looking at the machine with his baby daughter visible in the front seat. Courtney said Frazee is next seen going into Walmart at 12:52 p.m. He left the parking lot at 1:13 p.m. Surveillance video from the furniture store shows Frazee's truck headed towards Berreth's home, roughly around 1:18 p.m. Earlier in the day, investigator Chad Mininger testified about footage collected from Kelsey's neighbor's motion-activated security cameras. This footage, according to Mininger, showed Frazee outside Kelsey's front door around 1:23 p.m. Kelsey is carrying roses, and a baby carrier was seen in the photos shared in open court. So she's seen at 1:23 p.m. carrying roses and a carrier. Mininger said this was the last time Berreth would be seen in any surveillance photos obtained by law enforcement. According to the CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Agent Chris Adams, the last Google search on her phone was around 2:20 p.m. for sweet potato casserole. So, at 2:20 p.m., okay, this could have been when around this time. We'll see where Patrick was around this time. In the arrest affidavit, investigators said Kelsey texted Frazee and asked if he wanted sweet potato casserole that morning. At 4:20 p.m., Frazee is seen at the house once again, holding the child. He's also seen in surveillance footage at 4:24 p.m., 4:26 p.m., 4:27, 4:28, 4:29, and 4:30 p.m. So these are just minutes apart. During cross-examination, the defense attorneys pointed out that in the surveillance photos shown in court, Frazee isn't seen with a black tote box. And this piece of evidence is significant since it is the container that prosecutors allege that Frazee used to store Kelsey's body after he bludgeoned her to death. Mininger said that Kelsey's neighbor's surveillance cameras had been activated by motion 27 times on November the 22nd. Now remember, the next door neighbor was not at home. She was away and didn't come back until Tuesday. She had gone away for Thanksgiving and over the weekend. Now, Frazee was in 11 of the images during the days before and after her disappearance. Remember, Patrick never went back to that home, so he said. Once he picked up his child, he never went back to that home. And well, this proved him a liar, doesn't it? And we know he's lying anyway. So, anyway. And then Mininger said the camera had only been activated 3 or 4 times. So, this goes on. Courtney said Frazee was last seen in the surveillance images at the furniture store heading towards Florissant from, Kelsey's apartment. And this was at 4:34 p.m. See, now he's heading away from her apartment. So unless he went back later that night and did the deed, because, well, he's not seen. I don't think he was seen in the middle of the night going back there, so, but she's never seen coming out of her apartment, her home. She's not seen. And according to the detectives and everybody, the trash wasn't emptied. It was, nothing was done. Nothing was moved. Nothing. So she claimed that the tote box appeared to have moved in the bed of the truck. See, she had looked like in the surveillance cameras and different footage around the neighborhood, along the way. And like I said, one surveillance, it was this way, and another surveillance, it had been moved at different times. So, yeah. And then the defense disputed during cross-examination. And then the next piece of evidence about Frazee's whereabouts came from his brother, Shawn Frazee. He said that he had gone to his and Patrick Frazee's mother's home on the ranch for Thanksgiving, and he arrived around 2:30 p.m. And he said Patrick was not there. And the family just ate Thanksgiving dinner without him. his brother Shawn also said Patrick Frazee called their mother at 4:30 p.m. and said he was heading over. And this was shown to be on the phone's records. Who said minutes later, Patrick Frazee also called a phone number in Idaho that was attached to a nurse named KK. Alright. Now about 30 minutes later, at 5 p.m., Shawn Frazee said Patrick arrived with his daughter in tow and started making dinner for both of them. And later that evening, Shawn said Patrick went outside to do chores, and then he and his family went home around 7:30 p.m. that night. But between 5 and 7:30, Shawn said his brother was in and out. So at any given time, he doesn't know what his brother was doing outside. He doesn't know who he was talking to or what he was doing. He said he had to go feed and do chores, feed the animals. He's doing a lot of animal feeding this day. And apparently, he only got his animals in one spot. So that was he was supposed to be doing. And he also states, Shawn states, Frazee, he received a call from his brother on December the 3rd, where he said Kelsey was missing. He said Kelsey Berreth was missing, and that her mom was coming to Woodland Park to look for her. And Shawn claimed Patrick had told him he had broken up with Berreth. He told him he had broken up with her, and that two were sharing custody of their daughter. But that's not true. He hadn't broken up with her, and there's no evidence to prove that they had broken up, because texts, phone calls, and her talking to her mother, and her mother had no idea they'd broken up, because Kelsey had not mentioned that. And the text messages were going on between Patrick and Kelsey. She went out and helped him feed the animals. She stated that, or she was looking for some medication for upset stomach, bleeding, or something to do with ulcers or bloating, something to do with stomach problems, because Patrick was suffering from them. Do you know what? What we know now, what was going on was fear for what he knew he was about to do. Now his stomach was cramping up. He was feeling sick, nauseated. Yeah, he was. The nerves were getting to him, because he knew what he was about to do Thanksgiving Day. That's my opinion. But the proof is in the pudding, and the investigators got a hold of her. They've got a hold of her phone and data and laptop. They got a hold of her laptop, and they went through her laptop. They searched her Google records. They searched, what was she doing? And what had she been doing? What's she into? Do you know what I mean? Because Patrick has accused her of being an alcoholic, a bad mother, abused his daughter, and all kinds of things. But apparently, the clinic that she sought, that he's saying that she went there, or she could be in a rehab because she's a drunk, is a sleep apnea clinic. Yeah. So, and he's telling people that she's a bad mother. So he's spreading the word and making her look real bad. But there's no proof of this. There's no proof whatsoever that she was ever a bad mother. Now, we all know we have our good days and bad days, but there's no proof. But there's lots of proof that he's a bad father. And he was planning on murder. Planning on getting his daughter's mother disappeared for the rest of their lives. And we know how that was going. There was a court hearing to be happening very soon, and that could be another reason why Patrick had Kelsey disappear, vanish, and's never been seen since Thanksgiving Day, 22nd, 2018, because she was going to make things more legal, meaning set up visitation. You're not going to keep coming here and seeing this kid and pick him up. Come over when you feel like it. Whatever was going on. I don't know. She's going to finalize and have a visitation, and she was probably going to make child support a court order. I don't know. We don't know what her intentions were going to be, what arrangements was going to be made. I mean, I don't know about it, because apparently she is still thinking she's dating this man, and Patrick's saying they split up. But very conveniently, they only split up, around Thanksgiving. Well, but anyway, during the testimony of Cheryl Berreth, Kelsey's mother, said she had never heard that the two had broken up. She said during one of her last conversations with her daughter on Thanksgiving morning, Kelsey claimed she had been with Patrick at his ranch in Florissant and gone to buy him some medication at Walmart. Cheryl said her daughter didn't get home to around 4 a.m. that morning on the 22nd. Do you think Patrick's a little bit of a liar? Oh yeah. His lies are coming back to haunt him. You see, didn't he think there was surveillance video? Well, of course we know that. We know there's surveillance video everywhere these days. And according to Mininger, Kelsey was seen entering her apartment on her neighbor's surveillance camera at 4:54 a.m. So her mother said she got home around 4 a.m. and the surveillance says that 4 a.m. that morning. Adams testified that during the hours preceding this, Kelsey had Googled, searched information about what to do with the digestive issues and stomach ulcers. who had the problem with the stomach? Patrick. Oh yeah, I bet he had an ulcer, because he'd been planning her murder for some months now, and is getting sick of it because the job wasn't done, because KK couldn't get it done. It's all her fault. She couldn't get it done. The surveillance videos also shows that Patrick Frazee was at Kelsey's apartment later than he has said. During interviews with the police, he claimed that he had been there at roughly midday to exchange child, and then he left. So, at the end of Tuesday's testimony, Slater said Patrick Frazee was paying Kelsey $700 a month in child support, but hadn't made a payment since July. That's right. Because he was having problems paying his $72,000 loan back. But this was not formalized with the courts. Like I said, he was just paying that money, and I guess he got sick of paying it. So, in addition, Slater found some custody paperwork dated August 2018 at the home where he lived, but it had not been filed. And much of this narrative of the alleged crime hinges on the testimony of KK. And that's the nurse from Idaho, and who claims she had been having an affair with Patrick. Because that's what she told the investigators, that she was having an affair with him. And that he asked her to kill Kelsey on 3 occasions, but she didn't go forward with them. But she sure made good attempts, though, as we know, because she said so. And one time she got as far as the door and handed her the coffee and had a little chit-chat of some bunch of lies. And according to the investigators, after KK claimed on that Thanksgiving day she received a text from Patrick telling her that she had a mess to clean up, and then she drove like a good little mistress to come to Woodland to clean up the scene. And she also said she watched him burn her body at the property. Now she's the one saying the body was in a tote, and she described it, the color of it, and that's what the tote was like at the back of Frazee's truck. KK pleaded guilty to tampering with evidence after admitting to disposing Kelsey Berreth's phone. In exchange, she expected to testify during the trial, as we know. I did mention the word Lee earlier in my audio, my video, that the name Lee, well, the name Lee is coming up a lot lately. Christopher Lee, KK, her name's Lee, NK, her name's Lee, somewhere, and all these Lees. Well, anyway, a long time ago, in 2010, a girl goes missing, a 30 23-year-old girl, and a woman, not a girl, but and her name was Mindy Lee. And guess who she's associated with? Dated Patrick Frazee's brother. Yes. What's the odds of two brothers, two women, suddenly go missing? But they did. But Mindy Lee, her body was found in Woodland Park. See? And apparently her case is closed. Nobody has been charged with her death. And they will not reopen it. There is a petition going to reopen her case. Now, she was a blonde, and she looks a bit like KK. But they said she was a druggie, a drug addict, and all that. And suddenly, she had a 4-year-old child in the car. And her friend said she suddenly got out of the car and started, running away. And it was the middle of winter, snow on the ground, freezing cold, and she hardly had any clothes on. And she didn't have no shoes on. And, well, I don't know what happened there exactly, but she was found a few days later in the park. But there was a 6-foot fence that she had to climb over to get to where her body was found. And she was froze to death. But we don't even know what she really died of. But anyway, how about that? How about that? Alleged. That's alleged. And I just thought I'd bring it to your attention, guys, that, what's the odds? What's the odds? And now the father died mysteriously last year? The father died. Now, was that foul play, or was that natural causes? So the testimony of Beth Hubbard, and she is from the Woodland Park Police Department. She was the first officer assigned to do the welfare check after Kelsey's family called, out their concerns and wanted a welfare check. Hubbard said she entered Kelsey's information into the database to alert local, state, and national law enforcement as a missing person. And then she spoke with Frazee, who explained the couple was in the process of splitting up when he last saw her on Thanksgiving Day to exchange property and bring their daughter to Frazee. Well, every time he spoke to somebody, he's kind of changed his story a little bit, hasn't he? They split up already. They're not together. He picked up his baby, you never see her again. And he tells people a different story, a different timeline, different events. Excuse me. And then, and the property that he was supposed to be bringing back to her was a gun. Because Kelsey started to get worried. I don't know what she's worried about, but she needs her gun to carry around with her everywhere she goes for protection. And Patrick had it. I wonder what he was doing with her gun. Now, he took that gun away from her is because he didn't want it be used on him when he goes for the attack. And he supposed to return some keys. Would that be the house keys? Because he had house keys. He could get into her apartment. And according to Hubbard, the officer, Frazee said he did not know when Berreth left. He don't know when she left. So we know that he was leaving her home around 4:30 p.m. And Kelsey never left that home. She never left that home. The only way she could have got out of that home was in his truck, because she didn't fly. Poof. And so that's what he said. And Hubbard stated on the path of obtaining information as if the disappearance may be a possible suicide, including contacting her employee about any known issues or insurance status. Yeah, because now Patrick's getting him to think she's done herself in, because she's depressed, she's an alcoholic, and she's a bad mother, and she abuses her child. Yeah, he's starting to make her look real bad, like you do. Somebody, that wants you to look bad and make you look like you've just run off and left your child. But anyway, while she was looking into all possible outcomes, she contacted her employee and searching for her personal belongings, like her purse, her keys, and the gun, and not finding them, because her purse was gone, her keys were gone, her gun was gone, and apparently she's gone, but nothing else is gone. Nothing like her clothes, a toothbrush, not even a toothbrush, and her vehicle. So where did she go? Well, we know where she went. She went in the back of Patrick Frazee's truck, in the tote, in the back, like a piece of garbage, beaten to death by Patrick Frazee. Oh, remember, guys, he's innocent until proven guilty. That's a laugh. Yep. And then Patrick also told Hubbard that he recently returned Kelsey's revolver and ammunition to her. Oh yeah. When did he return that to her? Because the gun was never found. So he got rid of the gun too. So, and then after that, it was Shawn that was on the stand. And so I've already talked to you about his statements. As we know, Kelsey Berreth was the first person to be called to the stand on Friday, and also gave evidence on Monday. Kelsey Berreth struggled to contain her emotions on the stand as she described her daughter's upbringing in Washington State and a lifelong desire to become a pilot. Kelsey Berreth moved to Colorado within a year after starting a relationship with Patrick Frazee. Kelsey worked in Grand Junction, Fulton, and Pueblo as a flight instructor. Cheryl describes her daughter's relationship with Frazee's family as never being a good one, with the family viewing Kelsey as a hooker because she would arrive at the family's property late during the night because of her work hours. Who just presumes that you're a hooker if you come home late? There's second shift, there's night shift, there's in-between shifts, there's overtime, picking up shifts. There's all kinds of hours going on these days. And she's a flight instructor. They just don't fly in the day. You have to fly in different weathers, in the dark, in the light. Of course you do. According to the mother, the relationship worsened after Kelsey told the family about her pregnancy in the summer of 2017. She explained how her daughter was thrown out of the house and forced to move in with a co-worker. She was thrown out the house. Thrown out, kicked out, not wanted. Oh my goodness. And then they say, fast forward a year later, when Frazee and Berreth's daughter had just turned 1 year old, and Cheryl Berreth describes her daughter visiting a clinic in California. See, this is where the clinic comes from. Now, Patrick is telling everybody that she's an alcoholic and she's probably in one of those rehab centers. Yeah, he mentioned that too. And it's to help address a mineral deficiency. I thought it was a sleep apnea or something, but it's not. And it could be a combination. Soon after Kelsey started working, she started working less to spend time with her child. She and Frazee continued to live separate lives. Well, at least separate homes. Then Cheryl told the court the last time she spoke to her daughter was on Thanksgiving morning 2018. Yet their conversation was cut short as Kelsey had to change her baby's diaper. Later that day, she accidentally dialed Kelsey's phone and received a text that she would call back the next day. Yeah, she received a text, "I'll call you back the next day," like tomorrow, Several follow-ups attempts to connect were unsuccessful. So her mother was trying to get a hold of her, but she just wasn't answering the phone. And like the brother said, he thought that he'd upset his sister because of some arrangements that were canceled or something like that, and that she was ignoring him for some reason. But he knows that not to be true, and I bet his little heart is aching right now, even thinking about it, So that's how that went. Soon afterwards, Patrick Frazee called Cheryl to inform her Kelsey had moved out. Well, that part I don't understand, but I'm just reading this, and that's what it said. According to the testimony, the mother explained that was odd, as she had heard nothing beforehand and maintained a close relationship with her daughter. Well, I guess moved out means he's moved out. Well, he never moved in, did he? I don't know. Eventually, the Berreth family decided to contact Woodland Park Police and the concerns of their daughter and well-being. And the officers, like I said, never found anything odd out of the ordinary. And on the 3rd of December, Kelsey's mother and brother came down, to look for her. Cheryl explains finding both of her vehicles, because she had 2 vehicles, and they were outside the townhouse home. And along with all her luggage, makeup, toiletries, she told the court she immediately noticed Kelsey's purse, phone, keys were missing. There were other things out of place, including baby toys. Baby toys out of place, and they are missing too. You see, this mother knows her daughter pretty good. She obviously knows her layout of her home, so she has visited her more often than people know. During the opening statements, the lead prosecutor explained how Kelsey, KK and Frazee, girlfriend. Now she's the girlfriend, not the mistress. Okay. It says she was called to Berreth's home to clean up a lot of blood. Yeah, and we all know about that cleanup, don't we? She was summoned to Woodland Park to do a cleanup. And then the prosecutors, the state, wrapped up with a very powerful photo of cinnamon rolls left on the stove. Hard cinnamon rolls left on the stove. And they were hard as rocks, according to Kelsey's mother. Jennifer, the prosecutor, started out her opening very strong by outlining a complicated relationship between Frazee and Kelsey, and which we all know they lived together for a short while at the ranch, but Kelsey got kicked out as soon as the mother found out she was pregnant. Yeah, and kicked her out, just kicked her butt out the door, just like that. So, why would she do that? Why would she do that? I don't know. Maybe her beliefs. I don't know. She looks like a cow anyway. Moo. That's what she looks like. Yeah, that's why she lives on a ranch with the horses. Anyway, well, they had a child together, and they lived in the same county. She claims that Frazee was constantly manipulated those around him by painting a picture of Kelsey being a bad mother, an alcoholic, and abusive to their infant daughter, Kaylee. And yes, he sure did, didn't he? He started spreading the word. Like, one of his statements were that he wanted 50-50 custody of his daughter. he also said to his friends he had 50-50 with his daughter, and God knows what else they said. And he probably says he's got custody of his daughter. Yeah, he said he got custody of his daughter. The daughter lives with him. Now, he took his daughter on many visits to the ranch to feed the cattle. The cattle, like them horses or the pigs or the cows or whatever he was feeding. And especially the donkeys. Yes, he went to the donkey land, he went to, that donkey lady's house and hooved the donkeys and took care of the wild donkeys. They were wild. And so he was paid for doing that. But he would take little Kaylee with him. And, the donkey lady would, maybe watch her for a little while and they would have a little chit chat. And God knows what the hell he told her. Why didn't he just tell the truth and say, hey, I watch my baby while the mother goes to work, so we don't have to pay a babysitter? Why didn't you just say it like that? No, you have to make up some shit and say she's a bad mother. I have custody because she's no good. She drinks all the time and she keeps disappearing all the time. She just takes off. She's a very unfit mother. And God knows what else he said about her. And so that's kind of on the lines that he probably would get people to feel sorry for him, help him out a little bit. I don't know. I don't even know what he was lying about. But we all know he's a liar. And he didn't want to pay no more child support. You see, the child support was given willingly. $700 a month. I don't know who came up with $700 a month. I mean, it's pretty hefty for one child. But those who came up with 700, somebody came up with 700. It was not court-ordered, just to let you know. Volunteer. He gave her child support. So if they ever went to court and she made an order for child support, it would show that he was paying money if he kept the receipts and said what they were for. And, that would look good on him. But depending how much you earn is how much child support you pay, because that's just how it is. So 17%. Maybe that was 17% of his wages. Whatever he earned. Well, I don't even know what he earned. I don't even know how much he got paid. But we do know he took out a loan for $70,000. Now, how did he get the loan? You must have shown that you were getting some income. Yes, he took his animals to the slaughterhouse and sold them. Whatever he did, he bred cattle and he sold them to the auctions, or like they do out in the wild, wild west. And okay, well, that's good. But that changed in July when he stopped paying her, he was $150 short one month, and blah blah blah. But okay, you have hard times. You're trying to help, and at least you're taking your kid and you're watching her and you're doing all that. Well, that's good. And you're watching her while the mother goes to work. Well, that's great. So you are doing your fair share. But the thing is, you want it all. You want it all. You wasn't willing to share. You wanted it all. Now, so that's just how that happened. And then we learned, about KK and her solicitation, about doing what Frazee asked her to do. these are the words of KK. And what her testimony was that she gave to the prosecutors and got a sweet as deal. She laid out what happened, but her story had to match other people's stories too, like, you know, the texts, the phone calls, and about the coffee, the cup of coffee, which Kelsey did say to her mother or co-worker about this woman coming with this cup of coffee. So, you know, that part's true. So that was kind of verified. And then plus one time she brought her aunt to the scene of the crime. Yes. And I don't know if she's going to be brought in as a witness. I don't see why not. If she's a big witness, she went with her, and she could may be able to say why she went with her and what was KK doing, what was she saying. Do you know what I mean? If some woman, now Kelsey had been living there a little bit, not that long, but a little bit, some strange woman came knocking on your door and said, "Hi, I'm your neighbor, and I just thought I'd welcome you with your favorite Starbucks coffee." Oh yeah? Her favorite Starbucks coffee. Now, that must be 1,000,000 to 1 that she got Starbucks, and plus she got her favorite cup of coffee from Starbucks. You would feel a little bit weird, like, what the hell's going on here? You know, do you know what I would have thought? My first instinct, I got problems with my man. I'll be thinking, yeah, something fishy going on here. You know, my radar would have went bing, bing, and I'll be thinking, bitch, what the hell are you? You know, I probably wouldn't even be nice about it. I'd probably get an attitude or something, because it's just the way it was done. That's all. Nobody does that. I mean, they bring you pie, apple pie or something, you know, or cook you a nice stew and welcome you. But you don't know these neighbors. What the hell do you know these neighbors? I mean, you can't trust anybody these days to eat anybody's food. Sometimes you can't even trust the restaurants to do it right. So it's getting very dodgy these days. But anyway, that was what she did, and God knows who came up with that idea. We don't know if it's Frazee, or her idea, because, you know, she's a nurse and she can put all kinds of drugs in that drink. And I think the drugs were to make her sleepy. If there was going to be any drugs in that coffee, I don't think it was going to be poison. I think it was going to be narcotics that will knock her ass out, and then she can beat her to death. Yeah. But, you know, I don't think that was a very good plan, but it was constructed and it was activated, and she did talk to Kelsey and hand her the coffee. So, but she said she never put nothing in it. But who's to say she didn't put nothing in it? I don't know if she put anything in it. I don't know if Kelsey said she felt weird after drinking the coffee, she felt tired, or she took a nap. I don't know what she said. But anyway, so that's a little bit of that one. And the surveillance, you know, when she said she was never there, she was never there. It looks like she was never there. Because thank God, the surveillance, there is surveillance, and the cameras, motion detectors, it also alerts you when somebody is roaming around. It alerts you on your phone, and you can look and you can watch and see what's going on. But she wasn't there because there's nothing on these cameras to say that she was there on that day. But if the neighbors have Patrick Frazee on Thanksgiving Day, they have to have KK on the cameras. I haven't heard if they did or not. But it's only 2 days later, and they definitely would have seen her come in and go out. They would have picked her up, maybe along the roads, like they did Patrick. Cameras everywhere. They picked her up on the Sonic. If you're trying to creep in and creep out because you know damn well a crime has been committed, then you go riding around like nothing's happened. And you go to town, in the same town, and get something to eat. Instead of getting the hell out of Dodge. You go visiting restaurants so you can get some grub. Something to eat. Because your fat ass just worked up a sweat for 4 or 5 hours cleaning up blood. You're disgusting. Disgusting. Yeah. And you call yourself a nurse. Jesus Christ Almighty. Like I said, I hope her license is gone for good. Her photo is plastered all around the nation. We know that. Yeah. Anybody out there, don't never hire this woman as a nurse, okay? She probably got fake documents because her license has been revoked. Ugh. KK. Disgusting. You signed an oath, pledged an oath to save lives, not kill them. She is worthy of nothing. And her ex-husband lived in Idaho. Apparently she lived with the ex-husband. I don't know what arrangements they had. Apparently that's where she lived. On the ranch. But the ex-husband was talked to. And maybe to get an alibi. But you know what? He says she wasn't here. She wasn't here. I don't know where she was. So he never gave her no alibi. And then according to the sources, out there, I think he kicked her off the ranch. He kicked her off the ranch because God knows what she was telling him. I don't think she ever told him that. Well, I don't think so. That she ever told him what Patrick was asking her to do. I haven't heard that. I mean, her friends, yes. But I don't know about the husband, the ex-husband. Whether he knew that Patrick had asked her to do these things. Whether he knew where she was going at any given time. If they are not together, they don't have to tell each other where they're going, right? I guess, you know what I mean? So I can understand that part of it. But he wasn't going to lie for her. He surely wasn't, and he didn't lie for her. He's probably wants her out of his life and his kid's life because she's putting her kids in danger. Because she said so. Because she said Patrick threatened her. Kids can disappear in parks and stuff like that. And God knows what else he was saying. That's what she said anyway. But she lived in Idaho, 8 hours away. She wasn't even down the road from him, so I don't know how she'd be. What does she think? That he's going to come all the way to Idaho and kidnap her kids and make them vanish too? No, it's just idle threats, manipulation, control. Because he knew what she felt about him. Yeah, they got a bond. And it's not going to be broken. And they're both cheaters and liars. So they suited each other. I just wish that she didn't get that sweet ass deal she got, because she deserves to be in prison. And I doubt if I'm the only one that thinks that. She needs to do prison time. I mean prison time, not like 3 years. She needs to do some 20 years. Yes, she does. People get 20 years for less than what she did. For less. Yeah. For less. And it just makes me sick. I think they could have got Patrick Frazee without her. I really do. I really do think that they got enough evidence to prove without a body, but the evidence is there. But he might not get as much time, but they would have got him. I'm pretty sure of it. But anyway, it's just going the way it's going right now. And so, she said that in her statements, months ago, that she went there and she found blood on the floor, the walls, the baby toys, the baby gate, the fireplace, and a pool of blood in the living room. Evidence to be presented shows a picture of a torn up floorboards, a picture of a small pot of blood, a spot of blood on the fireplace, a picture of blood on the couch with wipe marks, a picture of blood on the baby gate, and a picture of blood on the toilet, the base of the toilet. And this crime scene reportedly took hours to clean up. Now, KK said she was there for 4 hours. Do you think she could have cleaned that house up in 4 hours? Well, yeah, I guess she could. She's running on adrenaline. But you know what? She was seen on surveillance in the Sonic drive-through. Well, I didn't see much of it, but I see a bit. She didn't look too worn out to me. No. And then she shows her face in Idaho. I don't know. Not much of a plan they had, right? Or was it Patrick's plan? See, he was trying to get her to do the deed for him. And he would have got away scot-free. Now maybe she came to her senses and realized what he was trying to do to her. He was trying to put her away for life, and her take the blame, her do the killing. And he wipes his hands off her, takes his baby, and runs off in the sunset. That was his plan. That was his plan. He used her, and she didn't see it. Now she must have had some hate for Kelsey. She didn't even know this woman. She has just heard what Patrick says about her. But you know what? She must not have had a heart. Because if this woman was drinking and had some problems, she went on, oh, well, she should get some treatment, or this is wrong with her. Oh, well, maybe things are be okay. That's, when you have a child, most people pay child support. That's not a bad thing. or a good thing, but you have to take care of your child. She obviously didn't even think of those things. I don't even know why, because she's goddamn divorced herself, and got kids. I don't know what set-up arrangements, child support payments, whatever is going on in her situation. But she should have quite understood some things. Wait, you telling me she don't drink? Yeah, she probably drinks. She probably gets drunk a lot. But that's okay, though. But I don't know if Patrick drinks. If he had an alcohol problem, perhaps he did too. We don't know. We don't even know if he was on drugs or anything. I don't know. Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't. And of course, Kelsey's body has never been found to this day. And like I said, KK said that Frazee burnt Kelsey's body on the family property. And then KK refused to drive the body to Idaho. See, Patrick even asked her to take the body and dump it along the way to Idaho. See, he wanted her to take the rap for it all. She had to clean up, take the body to Idaho, take her phone, take her keys, take her gun, take whatever else. And if she got stopped by the police for some reason and her car was searched, that would have been the end, wouldn't it? And maybe he was hoping that something like that would happen. But she refused to do it. She refused to do it. But she did everything else, but she refused to do that. And she did state that she took her phone and she was ordered by Frazee to make these text calls to her job and to him. To her job and to who else she made any phone calls to. And of course she destroyed everything. She destroyed the evidence. She destroyed her phone. And in the days after Kelsey's disappearance, the prosecutors say Frazee never tried to call Kelsey's phone, but contacted KK 46 times. 46 times. But not once did he call Kelsey. But he did say he called Kelsey, on the 25th or something. But he didn't call her no more. But he was too busy calling KK. Okay, this is a little bit about the defense opening about KK and her statements. And his opening statements stated the facts in the case presented by the prosecutors. They stated they do not make sense. The argument being Patrick Frazee did not commit this murder. That's their opening statements. What they did not tell you is that KK did not go to the police voluntarily. They had to track her down. Defense attorney Ashley Porter says she pointed out KK's lies to the FBI when she denies even knowing Kelsey. She doesn't even know Kelsey, never heard of her, don't know where she lives, don't even know who she is, that kind of thing. And then Porter cites the second time the FBI meets KK at her home. She has hired an attorney. That was the attorney, that good attorney that got her a sweet ass deal. I think it was that woman. I forget her name, but it was a woman. Before she says anything about this case, she cuts a deal. Yeah, because she's got an attorney, and a good one at that. See? First one to talk, first one to walk. And she cuts the deal where she could spend 0 days in jail, Porter says. I bet they were pissed. They were pissed. Oh, yeah. Well, anybody else would get a lawyer too, I guess. Especially if you haven't done nothing. Do you know what I mean? That's a laugh, isn't it? Yeah. Attorneys for Frazee argue he has no motive. Nobody has been recovered, and investigators have not recovered an alleged murder weapon. No, because the murder weapon got burnt right along with Kelsey's body in that tote. Yeah. So, we won't find it. Now, I don't know how you burn a baseball bat, but maybe it's made of wood or something, because I don't know if that would really burn. Aluminium, or whatever it was made of. I don't know how that burns, right? I don't know. However, KK has admitted to bringing a full body protective suit. Yeah. Personal protective equipment. She brought the gown from the hospital. Isolation gowns and stuff like that. Medical. And she probably stole them from the hospital because she's a thief as well as a liar and a killer. And alleged, she brought bleach and cleaning supplies, and she borrowed her friend's car to drive to Woodland Park to clean up the bloody scene at the townhome. Yeah, and now she has her friend's car. Yeah, see what I mean? She borrows her friend's car. And now her friend's gonna be in trouble because they see this car, they see the number plate, whatever, and now they think it's her friend. Yeah, do you know what I mean? She's put her involved in it because she used her car in a crime. So that woman might have got called and said, "Is this your car? What's it doing? There's a person missing." And it just goes on like that. So now she's got her friend involved in it by borrowing her car, but I'm not sure where she parked her car. I don't think she parked it outside Kelsey's home. She probably parked it somewhere, walked down and went down the alley and crept in the house. Because we may not have surveillance on her, but she got in there somewhere because she said so. So that's what she did. And Porter points out that despite the horrific scene KK describes, there are only tiny spots of blood found by investigations. The investigators. And then, after that, opening statements wrap up. And then the attorneys are in the process of calling their first witness in the case. And as you know, this is going to be a little bit hard case to follow, and we're going to be a day behind on everything and stuff like that. Cameras and live coverage of the trial are forbidden per judge orders. That woman, it's a woman judge. I thought it was a man, but it's a woman. I keep calling her a man or something, but Scott. So she doesn't even want sketch artists in the courtroom. She don't want nothing, because you know what? She don't want to taint this jury. She wants to get this speedy trial, and she wants no delays and no hiccups, no mistakes, and do you know what I mean? She's things are sealed, but you know what? There are people getting things out of that courtroom. Like, you're not supposed to film stuff or record stuff, but there's always a way. Just don't get caught, because you get kicked out and you may lose your phone. But I don't even think it's fair that you can text or anything while you're in the courtroom, because it's your right. You pay. You want to know what's going on in your courts, and wants to know what's going on with accused killers, and it's your right to know. It's the public's right to know. But she's stopped everything, which you always have news reporters in there, and they write stuff down and they run out and they get it on the news right away, put it in the paper, not in this case. So just letting you know that it's a little hard to follow. I mean, we kind of know the court's paperwork and everything, the lineup, and there is this guy that's on Facebook, and he is a reporter, and he is doing live Facebook and reporting on the whole day's events. Yes, guys. So I'll be watching him, because he just gives you a rundown on the events that happened that day. So he's doing live Facebook on the case, on the Patrick Frazee's case. So that's more or less how that is so far. So guys, I don't really know what else to say about yesterday's events and the day before. They're moving along. There's a lot happening. It's moving pretty fast. It's not going slow. Even the prosecutors are getting ahead of their time, because yesterday the jury left, and the prosecutors didn't have no more witnesses to take the stand. They had gone through them just like that, like boom, 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 because some of them were on the stand, but only for moments. And nobody was really cross-examining and answering too many questions. It was like, you're in, say what you gotta say, boom, out the door you go. Get in, get out. And that's kind of how that works. But I'm gonna guarantee you, when Kay gets on that stand, because she is the one, okay, the one, the leader of the pack here. She's the leader of the pack, and she's going to wolf her way through her statements, and I can't wait to hear the whole story, not bits and pieces. I wanted to listen to her say it, in her own words. Say it. Now we won't even hear her say it. We're just going to have to read it, but we're not going to hear it from her own voice. That's what I wanted to hear. Do you know what I mean? Well, sorry guys, unless somebody's recording it illegally, that's the only way. And you know what? And through this trial, they're not going to put it out there right now. They definitely are not going to put it out there. I don't think so. Maybe they are. I've heard people are. Or somebody is. But I wouldn't do that if I was them. I'll wait till it's over. What they're going to do? Can't do nothing once they're convicted, right? But anyway. So guys, let's have a little discussion about, yesterday, Tuesdays and Mondays, witnesses and how you think it's going along so far. Do you think they've got enough evidence to convict? Yeah, they do. I really do think they've got enough. They've got enough. And he's going away. And hopefully, first-degree murder, at least one of them charges is going to stick. One of them charges is going to stick, and he's going to serve a lot of time. So guys, thank you for stopping by, and don't forget to like, and you can share my video if you like, but sub to my channel and press the notification bell so you get notified when I upload videos, because I appreciate you all for what you do. You watch my videos and everything, and I appreciate that. And thank you for stopping by.